Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the half hour with Premier Power. Today I have a couple folks with me. Get a little sound there. There we go. I have a couple guests with me today. We're going to be talking about lightning protection. And again, I have my father, who's a national electrical expert and guru with electrical systems across the border.
Well, thank you for being here, son.
And we also have Roger McPhee with Insight Lightning Protection. Roger, welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you.
You're welcome. We want lightning protection. You are a lightning installer. My dad's building a new house. You're installing lightning protection. Tell me a little bit about you guys self and how long have you been in the area? Where do you service?
We've been in the area in Lake County since about 20 years, probably.
Okay. And what you guys only do lightning protection? That's it.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
In the name of the company?
Insight Lightning Protection.
Okay. All right. Dad, you have a couple things you want to talk about?
Yeah. Before we get going here, let me just kind of remind the listeners that if you go to my 790 AM, dial 352-787-9523. Any questions dealing with lightning protection, just give us a call, and Michael will field the question, or I'll field the question. We'll move forward. If you also get a chance, go to premierpowerinc.com. That's PREMIERINC.com. Go to Important Information tab, and then you'll notice there's a section there about lightning protection. Now, Michael, do you do lightning protection installations yourself?
No.
And this is an important point to make, and that is that even though Michael is licensed through Lightning Protection Systems is a very skilled specialty, and you need people who have been doing this for a long time. We got the dad here who's not on the radio here, but Roger, you're the junior, is that right?
Yes.
And your dad senior here is up here. And you guys, did you do my house back about 1997? Were you there in my house also?
Yes.
And now I'm building a house right now, and you guys are putting a lightning protection system in my home right now. So I seriously believe, and actually, you're right, Michael.
You guys have done my house.
I did. That's right. I did your house.
That's right.
And so we're believers in lightning protection systems here. We're not selling anything. We want you to have the true facts. So I go to premierpowerinc.com. I go to Important Information. There's a link there on lightning protection, and I clicked on one of those, and it's common questions about lightning protection. So I'm going to run through this real quick, Roger, and you just give us some of your insight. And I'll be jumping in, and son, of course, you'll be jumping in where we think we can contribute.
Question, can lightning strike during the day without any clouds, any storms? I mean, just like in a day like today?
No.
Okay.
If a storm's coming, that's when you're going to get it.
The major thing in lightning is it's the movement with the ice and the clouds and all the buildup, and it's a giant static electricity. Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's the positive and negative charge of the clouds in the ground.
Okay, so it's just balancing out each other is what's happening.
Well, the thing to understand here, lightning is an electrical phenomenon, and for sure when there are storms, then you have the potential. But there are cases where there were storms on one side of the mountain, like in Colorado, and the lightning actually went on the other side of the mountain, which was clear sky, and killed people. That is not uncommon. There have been situations where people were actually on a beach, and lightning was, let's say, happening 15 or 20 miles away, which is very uncharacteristic that lightning would travel that far. So it can happen. But the key here is that we're not talking about personal protection, somebody out riding a bicycle in the mountains or in a beach. We're talking about lightning protection is a system that gets placed on a building.
Right.
So moving into the questions here, Roger, what is lightning protection?
It's a system they put on your home that's got the air terminals, and it's got the wires that come across the roof and go into the ground. And then you have a ground. So it's giving lightning a path from the roof to the ground.
And where did this originate from, this whole lightning protection system?
Well,
Benjamin Franklin.
Yes.
Back in the 1740s, Benjamin Franklin was, and true story here, Benjamin Franklin, he was screwing around with, he was always fooling around with all this electrical stuff, and he runs all this wire, and he ran it inside his house. And his wife was all concerned about putting lightning protection and running these wires and something like that. So Benjamin Franklin started this concept back over 250 years ago. Mike, were you going to say something?
Now, lightning protection, it's like an umbrella of wires that goes over your house, right? It's like a skeleton.
Yes.
Okay, so it branches all out, and you have all kinds of different angles and ports that drop down. So it's just like if you picture an umbrella, just the framework in that umbrella, that's what it is, right?
If somebody's listening to this and they really want to get into the technical part, they can kind of go on the internet and search for a Faraday cage, and we're not going to get into that concept. But when you're talking about all these wires, and Michael, you're commenting on wires, I think we need to make sure the customer understands or the people understand these wires typically will not be run exposed.
Right. We try to run them all in the attic. Even if your house has been there for 20 years, we still try to get in the attic and run through the attic and down. That way they're not on top of your roof.
So what you have is you got these metal points coming out of the building in the ridge on the top of the building, and then these wires get run underneath the roof, or
Yes.
rather in the attic space, and then those wires will run with a big wire over to the earth.
Yes.
At multiple locations, and it's called paralleling, so that the lightning comes in, it can disperse itself over multiple paths to the earth. That's a lightning protection system.
And these conductors are different than what we use for normal branch circuit wiring. They're much larger, right?
People don't understand what a branch circuit wiring is.
Oh, the normal wiring in your house. These are
Yes.
much different.
The
Yes.
electrician's wiring.
Electrician's wiring.
Yeah, the copper wire or the aluminum wire, whichever you use, just say it's about the size as thick as your thumb.
Does it matter if you use copper or aluminum wire?
If you're running inside the attic, you can run aluminum, but you don't want aluminum on top of the roof if you can do it, because it just disintegrates after years.
And then what about when the wire goes outside? If you ran aluminum inside the house,
It's fine as long as it's not exposed to the weather.
okay. But when it goes outside, then you have to do it. How do you?
We convert it over to copper before it goes outside. We have a bimetal, which is aluminum on one side and copper on the other. It hooks them together, and then copper goes down your wall and into the ground.
It's a coupling between the two.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's exactly how my house is right now. We're
Yes.
getting ready to frame. I mean, finishing up framing, so you can even see it in my house. All right. Next question is, how does lightning protection system work? I think we kind of addressed that, but let's just hit it one more time, Roger. How does it work?
Well, there's three ways. One, it comes from, if lightning comes down and hits the point of the air terminal on your house, it gives it a perfect path to ground. So
Which is the earth.
Which is the earth, right. And you drive 24, 30-foot deep grounds into the earth. That way, when lightning hits, it just, as quick as you blink, it's already in the ground.
Okay.
And those
All right.
have to be routed a certain way. They can't just be routed any other way, right? I think the curves and the angles and the
You
degrees.
can't have any 90s. Lightning
Yeah.
will not make a 90.
Well, you can have a 90,
But it has to be curved.
a large radius.
Yeah, right. Large curve. It
So
just can't be.
It can't be a sharp 90. It's
Right.
a large radius. In other words,
because that lightning's going to jump in that conductor to that high velocity.
lightning is so fast that it just can't take those type of sharp turns.
Right.
And then ends up going into the structure. So you got to get it right, the person who knows what's going on. All right. Now, something, as I'm reading the notes here, what does surge protection have to do with lightning protection?
Well, surge protection, what you do, lightning comes across.
Oh, wait a second. What is lightning protecting? What is a lightning protection system protecting?
The lightning, the direct strikes on your house.
So it's protecting the premises, the
The
actual
premises,
building.
yes.
Combustible material.
You know, I tell you what, son. When they put my house in '97, I had all kinds of electrical failures in my house. After that, and I called a buddy of mine called John West, who's a real serious lightning protection guy. I said, John, how come I'm wiping out all my electronic equipment? I got a lightning protection in my house. He says, he starts laughing. He goes, what? You think the lightning protection in your house protects your TV and all your communication systems? I says, well, that's what I thought. He goes, no, Mike. I said, well, then the guy wasted all kinds of money. He says, no, Mike. You travel a lot. You have a house in Central Florida. You're on sandy soil. Lightning, you cannot predict where it's going to land. And if it does hit your structure, then your house could catch on fire. So lightning protection is to protect the structure, not the electronics. So then I said, well, what do I got to do to protect my electronics? He says, Mike, you need surge protection. So you want to tell us? Now, we covered this, I think, in one of the previous radio shows, Michael, on surge protection. I think it was last
That's
radio
right, last
show.
week.
So tell us, again, short version on surge protection, how it ties in with your system.
Well, what we do is we put the surge protection on, because if it comes across the ground or comes across with the power lines, with your power coming into your home, that's a power surge, and the surge protection stops it from getting into your home and getting your electronics.
If anybody listening wants to know more about surge protection, go to premierpowerinc.com, go to important information, and there's a link there for a radio show that we covered it last week. All right, we're going to move on. Does lightning rods, does it attract lightning to the building?
No.
And it doesn't attract it at all.
No.
And that's about a 99.9% true statement. A doctor, Professor Ullman at the University of Florida, I presented that question to him. He says, well, Mike, when you put lightning protection on your building, you now have made your building a little taller.
Oh, okay. Okay, 10 inches taller.
So it's 10 inches taller. So there is, I mean, mathematically, I mean, if we sit down and we do all the numbers here, it is a little higher chance. Because, see, lightning strikes generally corners and higher objects. Now, I've seen pictures of the United States, the U.S. Monument in Washington, D.C., where it has lightning protection obviously on the tip,
Wow.
and lightning struck the side of the structure. And the reason it did that, it has to do with where the charge is. The charge was far enough over to the side of it that it was able to get to the side of the structure because it was so tall. All right, so it does not attract lightning. Lightning, if it's going to hit the structure, is what we're talking about. We want to protect against that particular event. How about if there's tall trees in higher homes? Not that much in Florida, but let's say you had taller trees, and how does that affect it? Anything with the tall trees, is that, well, wait a minute, I got tall trees, let the lightning hit the trees, it's not going to hit my house.
That's not true. It's still lightning, as the clouds and it comes across the ground. It can end up on your roof. It can end up. There's no dead set place. Oops, sorry. There's no dead set place. It's gonna.
And that's a fact. So taller trees actually could be a problem, because tall trees, particularly pine trees, have a tendency to get struck by lightning. And what that does is now it takes the lightning to the pine trees, it energizes the ground. Now you have the surge coming in on the telephone, the cable, the satellite, the power. It all comes in through the back door.
I'm going to cut in here. We're going to take a break. If you guys have any questions or concerns, please feel free to call us at My 790 AM. Phone number is 352-787-9523. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Hey, welcome back to the Premier Power Show. Every time I hear that song, I want to get up and dance. We left off about trees, high trees. Should we just leave the trees and use that as our protection? And you were talking about that.
All right, so there are cases where trees, pine trees in particular, near homes get struck by lightning. It goes into the earth and now energizes the earth. And now you have all this energy trying to dissipate itself. And it can come into your telephone, your cable TV, the underground, and that's where, as a complete system, and I'm in my house, I'm very much concerned because I have experience here. I want to make sure that I have surge protection to protect those systems. Also, we didn't talk about this because it's a technical thing, but people don't need to know it. But we can talk. Let's talk about bonding a different. Do you have any cases that you know of hitting trees and then coming in the house from the trees?
Yeah, I've actually, we had a house that it came down a tree in the backyard. It jumped on the AC frame. It followed the air conditioning wires up. It went through the whole house and came out on the power end of it. And when it did that, it took out the thermostat. It took out the guy's microwave. It took his TVs. It took everything.
Ovens.
So now, how do
There's
you?
a microwave on that
So
house.
there was no lightning protection.
No.
So what would you do to prevent that from happening? Because lightning protection in the roof, the Franklin system isn't going to protect against that.
Well, I'm glad you asked. On your house, Mike, we did that whole system, and now where the 30-foot grounds are, we are running a wire from them right over to your air conditioners, to your power, to your telephone. If you're doing a satellite, anything on the outside of your house, we are bonding that's metal, where lightning can come across from a tree or anything else to bond it, to stop it.
And bonding is just mechanically connecting it together.
Right, and tying it into the grounds in the earth.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Well, houses already have a lightning protection system installed, right? They have the ground rods before. The ground rods before in a normal house.
That's not a lightning protection system.
No. That's, you got to remember now. You have 2 8-foot grounds.
Hold on. Let me clarify this. All right, you're talking as an electrician. You have a ground at the house.
Yep, and we have two ground rods.
2 grounds, whatever the case.
Or we use
that doesn't protect your house from getting destroyed from lightning hitting it.
Okay.
Right. You understand that?
Yes.
It doesn't do anything. The electrical system ground has nothing to do in any conceivable way with providing any protection from lightning at all. If you want to provide protection from lightning, from damaging the structure, then you put this Faraday cage, which is a Ben Franklin type of system, on top of the building. It has all these air terminals that if lightning was going to hit that structure, it now gets bypassed to the earth. You follow, son?
Yes.
You got that? And then we have other paths that could come into the telephone, the cable, and the power, because we're trying to protect the internal components of the house, the electronics, let's say. That's when you have to have surge protection. As a matter of fact, Pinellas County, Florida, which is the lightning capital of the United States, requires, I don't know if you know this, requires surge protection at every service.
Wow.
That is a requirement. That's how important surge protection is. And then we have the third component, because we have the lightning terminals, we have the surge protection, and Roger, what you're saying is the third part of this whole scheme of systems is to make sure you bond everything together. Anything metal that's going to be going outside or comes in from the outside is going to be connected together.
Right.
And I know some people are like, well, I don't want my gas pipe connected to it, or I don't want my, and that's a fear that people have, and that is that and even some, I've even seen some gas utility guys are like, I don't want the lightning guy to even contact our gas. No, you want everything bonded together. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on. And by the way, the number here is 352-787-9523 if you have a question. All right, the question that's going to come up, Michael, is this: our electrician says our home is grounded. Does this protect us from the lightning damage? And you even asked that question.
Well, we have a call.
Okay.
Good afternoon, caller.
All right,
Hello?
we're going to switch that over there. And
Hello?
Hello?
yes, sir.
Yeah, my house was struck by lightning last June. And the only thing that was taken out was our telephones. And every breaker in the breaker box tripped.
Wow.
Because we have GFI breakers in the whole box.
And it didn't toast you. Did you test your GFCI breakers to see if they still
They all work fine.
You press the test button?
They all work fine.
Well,
Like I said, the only thing we lost was our telephone.
well, you got lucky.
It came in through the phone line.
So it came into the phone line
Right.
in that
Yeah,
particular
and
case.
also, well, I shouldn't say that. We also had a water filtration system that took that out too.
You cannot predict what it's gonna take and how great of a damage it is. I mean, it could have been catastrophic. You don't have lightning protection at all, or you do have lightning
We do
protection?
have a surge protector that's on the bottom of the breaker box that's outside.
Okay, that helps a little bit, but you didn't have it on your telephone or your cable or your satellite.
No.
You know, so therefore you're not. I don't know if you listened last week when we talked about surge protection.
No, I wasn't listening last week.
Go to PremierPowerInc.com. Go
They
to
don't have a computer.
okay. All right. Well, then basically you're screwed. That information is not there. But you can
But
go.
whatever. See, now and that's another thing. It's actually struck between the two houses.
That's
Me and
what
my
we were
next door
just
neighbor.
talking about.
We lost our phones, and they lost their phones, their cable, not their cable, their dish, and their computer.
Yeah. You see, that's a great point you made. It struck between the premises, so it wasn't a direct hit. It just hit the ground, and then it started migrating around. Hey, listen, I really appreciate that phone call and that comment.
And
anything else?
No, that's it.
If you have any questions or concerns,
In other words, we were just lucky that it didn't take other things out.
Yes, you are lucky.
All right, thanks much.
Hey, thank you so much for the call.
You're welcome.
All right, so grounding of electrical systems, which all buildings are required to have, it does not offer any protection here at all.
No.
Next one. We kind of address this. Is, will lightning protection look unsightly on my building?
We try to make it so it doesn't. We try to run everything inside your attic. That way it doesn't, you'll see a 10-inch air terminal is all you're going to see on your home. If it has to go on top, the ticket is to pull the wire as tight as you can get it, as clean as you can get it so it doesn't stand out, and you run it down the walls or next to gutters so it's not unseen.
Okay.
Sightly.
I think we got another call coming in.
No.
Mike.
I have a quick
Right,
question.
Gator Mike, what do you got there?
I know that we're far away from antenna TV, but believe it or not, people still do use antennas
Yes.
for TV. They can't afford cable or can't afford satellite dish. How does an antenna near or on my house affect what we're talking about today, lightning protection?
Great question. The National Electrical Code addresses this. Now, we're not talking about lightning protection. We're just talking about you have an antenna. The National Electrical Code requires that that metal antenna, which is rarely done, is electrically connected to the electrical ground. So we're bonding them together, or we're grounding the antenna. Most people putting an antenna, just stick up an antenna out there. When lightning strikes the antenna, it has no path to go to other than jump into the structure, follow the antenna cable, go into the electrical system, it's toast. So if you have an antenna and you ground it to the electrical system, that doesn't mean that when lightning strikes the antenna, you're not going to toast everything in your house, because the house can still catch on fire because there's no lightning protection. So if you don't have a lightning protection system and you have an antenna, it's critical that the antenna have a 10-gauge wire run from the antenna structure that's designed for a proper wire that goes to the electrical system ground. But, that's the best you can do for that case.
Okay.
But if you had lightning protection, then what they would have done, they would have run the big wire over to the antenna mast,
Okay.
and they would have connected that.
Is that how we're protected here in a similar fashion
and
here?
what you
at the
have here
station?
is you have everything tied together. Your antenna and your grounds, because we're in a radio station, everything is bonded together, and you have huge amount of surge protection, you know what I mean, to make sure that we just don't have any movement that's going to damage anything.
All right, so if there's rain outside today, we're good today then.
Yes, we are.
All right, good.
Our next question is, we talked about if it's unsightly or not, and the thing is, doesn't have to be? No. When's the best time to install lightning protection in a structure or building?
Under construction,
Under construction in the new phase,
in the new phase, as they're building their home.
or if it's existing in the morning because it's hot in those attics.
Absolutely. It's hot in the attic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
Well, in our house, we're building a new house, and immediately, it was not even a question in my mind.
We were
I'm
the
building
first-
my house, inside the lighting protection system, did my house almost 20 years ago. You guys always have taken care of us, and so I made sure, bingo, we got the lightning protection in our home right now. Next question. How long can a lightning protection system last, and is there any maintenance requirements?
Lightning protection system will last forever. I mean, what happens is the trades that come. Your landscaping company
Oh,
comes.
hold on 1 second. So you're saying the actual mechanics of the system itself would last forever.
Right.
But
What happens is the landscaper will be running the weed eater next to it, and as time goes by, he's hitting your wire and everything else. We suggest that you have them inspected every 2 years.
hey, you know what? I need you to come back to my house, my big house.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, my first house.
Yep.
And come back and take a look at it and just double check our grounds. I know you guys run those grounds considering the fact that there's going to be damage. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So you try to keep as low profile as possible, and I appreciate that. All right, I think the next question I'm going to come up with is how the question here is how do you choose a company to install a lightning protection system? And so I'm going to answer the question. Michael, you might also jump in there. It's like selecting any vendor. But this is a little unique situation. That a lot of people are struggling for work, and you see a lot of guys doing landscaping and cabinet, whatever it is that they can kind of out of their box type of things. And I know even Premier Power Incorporated at one time we had considered getting into the lightning protection business, right? We looked at that. Of course, we talked to Roger Senior and Junior, and we got the material and everything. And it's such a specialty field that we felt, you know what, this is not an area. There are standards that need to comply with, and it just wasn't something. So anybody thinking about a lightning protection system, I would encourage you to at least contact Insight Lightning Protection Systems. And Roger, you want to give them a number they can call?
Yeah, it's 352-357-6342 is our office phone, and just give us a call.
The key is we're not pushing Insight Lightning Protection Systems. Contact any lightning protection system if you feel. And also get multiple prices inside here. But the most important thing is you want to pick a company that they specialize in lightning protection. Do you guys do anything else besides lightning protection?
No.
Nothing. Michael, do you do lightning protection?
No.
Bingo. So you want people who have decided, you know what? We know our business. We know what we're doing. We have over 20 years of experience. So I would suggest that you contact a company that you feel is going to give you that kind of track record. And now, just out of curiosity, a 2,500 square foot house, typical house, existing, already there, not on a new construction. How much? I understand. I'm not trying to pin you in that, but what are we talking about now?
For a
here?
system running through the attic and with surge and the whole package, you're looking at between $1,800 and $2,400.
18. So if somebody says they can do it for $1,200,
it's not a good system.
You got to be very much concerned about that because
what you're going to find is they're going to be running aluminum right down the sides of the walls, right into the ground, hooked to the ground, which in a year the aluminum's just going to come right off the ground wire and you have nothing.
And then, I have one or two more last questions here. I think we're going to be closing up. There is this new type of lightning protection system.
Are
we out of time here? Okay.
We're out of time here. So, Dad, thank you for the show. Roger, thanks for coming. You want to put something here?
One last thing. If you need information on lightning protection, go to premierpowerinc.com. There's a link there under information and get more information before you make a decision.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us.